All right, Endless Hustlers. It is, in the immortal words of one of the greatest rappers of all time, today is a very good day because I've got the one and only Ice Cube on the show. Big fan, Ice, and super pumped to have you on the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right,
Sure.
Let's start with the big three. I had Joe Johnson on here not too long ago, and I'm going to say to you what I said to him, which is none of these startup leagues ever work. They all fail. Somehow this has been a huge success. What's the secret sauce, man? Why is this thing working?
I think it's a few different things. We started off with a lot of credibility, having people like Dr. J, Chauncey Billups, be a part of the league. You know, Dr. J is a coach. He's not a player, so don't worry about that. But to be a part of the league, Gary Payton, to be a coach, Iceman, George Gervin. I mean, these are basketball guys. And so to have them basically co-sign the big three was huge. I think also, you know, having a game that we recognize. 3-on-3 is something that most guys and girls play more than 5-on-5, you know, if you really think about it. 5-on-5 is, you know, sometimes it's just not enough space, too many people. And so 3-on-3 games are going on everywhere. So it was a sport that was right under our nose that just never been elevated to the professional level. And our approach, you know, we approach it as a professional league, and that's what it is.
So Joe pretty much said it was all you. That's all great, but he's like, it's all Ice Cube. This guy put it together.
Nah, man, you know, I have some great people working with me. Jeff Quantnitz, who we've been partners for a minute, man, you know, over 20 years. We basically conceived the league and thought of all the rules and the business model for the league and how it works. And we all have specialists, you know, we all have our special talents. You know, he's amazing when it comes to arenas and tickets and television contact tracks and all this kind of stuff. And then you got Amy Trask, who was the Raiders up there, my Raiders CEO for 17 years, to come in and give us her knowledge on how to treat players, insurance and taxes and, you know, trainers and this, you know, how to treat our athletes right. And then you got people like Clyde Drexler. And so the list goes on and on with people helping me with the big three and making it a success.
At the end of the day, this is a startup business, like any startup business. At what point did you realize that you had gotten over the hump, that this thing was actually working, it was succeeding, and that it was actually viable?
Well, you know, I think we're close to the hump. We're almost there. You know, I think saying that we're over the hump is, I think, jumping the gun a hair. You know, we still have to bring in sponsors. You know, we're always looking for great investors to make sure this thing blows up the way it's supposed to. And when we start rolling downhill, we don't have to ever look back. So, you know, we're still growing the league. We had to take a year off. That was a hit. Losing Adidas, that was tough. And so we've gained a lot of great sponsors with Monster Energy and Taco Bell and Microsoft and Triller and Super Draft. You know, so we're moving in the right direction, and we're almost over the hump. And you know, I think by year's end we'll definitely be here.
It's incredible to see your success now. You've turned into a mogul. You're a producer, an actor, the big three, and probably a gazillion other projects I don't even know about. But I want to take you back 30 years because we just celebrated the 30th anniversary of one of my all-time favorite movies, Boyz n the Hood. I had Sanaa Lathan on the show a couple days ago, and we were talking about, both of us, the first time we saw that movie and how it impacted us. But for you, that was your first real acting performance. That was your breakout. Take me back to the mindset of a young Ice Cube, one of the most famous rappers on the planet, who's now cast in this movie with a bunch of unknowns, which has now become one of the most iconic movies of all time.
Um, I couldn't believe that, it was happening for me like that. First of all, having a movie called Boys in the Hood, after writing the song, years before that for Eazy-E, for John Singleton to take that title and turn it into a movie about how we grew up in the neighborhood in South Central LA. It was just surreal in so many different ways. And I took it very serious. I took it so serious. I questioned whether I was qualified. I didn't want to be the one who messed up John movie. He took care of me. He made sure that I was comfortable. People like Lawrence Fishburne, Cuba Gooding Jr., Morris Chestnut, who were more experienced actors than me. They looked out for me. They helped me out in so many ways, whether it was, ad-lib rehearsing, improvising. Improvised rehearsing, just improvising, doing things, staying late. So they helped me through the process. So I was very grateful.
You're a master of your craft at that point. You're arguably the biggest rapper on the planet. You're now thrown in this stage. Are you shitting your pants at that point? Like you'd mentioned, obviously, I hope I'm not the one that derails this movie. But as someone who's so confident as a performer, how do you kind of hide the fact that, holy cow, I'm kind of a rookie here, and man, I hope I don't fuck this up?
Well, it's funny that you say that because John, me and him had gotten real close because I had knew him before he even graduated USC. So I saw this project from a long way. But we got closer doing the movie, and John was a guy who would really, push you to do your best. And so he was pushing me, and I would go with him to edit. I saw the movie in a rough form, and if you see a movie in this rough form, it has no sound. The sound ain't right. It's very flat. You don't have all the Foley, sound effects, music. It's not cut right. You see dropouts. So when I saw that, I called my manager, Pat Charbonnet, and I was like, how did you let me do this movie? How did you let me do this movie? I don't understand it. It don't feel right. I don't know. It's not going to work. And so she was like, how did you see it? I said, John, let me see it before he was finished. And she was like, he shouldn't have did that because that's why you acting like this. So he said, man, just give me a few months, man, to come back and see it. So I was actually sweating it. I'm like, man, this whack ass movie's gonna come out on me, man. It's gonna mess up everything I got going. So when he showed me the finished product, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that what I saw before had transformed into this masterpiece. I was happy. I was very happy at that point.
You come out of that and you're the standout. I mean, everyone is phenomenal in it. Cuba, Morris, everybody, Neil Long. I mean, back then he was Larry Fishburne still versus now Lawrence Fishburne. But really, you were the standout. Doughboy was this incredible breakout character. Are movie roles flooding at you from that point forward? Is it at that point like you have the pick of the litter? Or is it just a moment in time and it's like, all right, I've got to still hustle to try to make this entertainment thing happen?
Well, I fell in love with the experience because the movie went to, before it was released in the States, it was at the Cannes Film Festival. So we at the Cannes Film Festival, and, we in the movie theater, it's people in there like Eddie Murphy, Quincy Jones, Gregory Hines. We all in there, and the movie has subtitles because it's a French audience. So I'm not thinking like, I'm like, man, they're not gonna get what's going on in South Central LA and out here in France. They gave us a standing ovation after the movie. So I said, man, this is fun. We had this whole run. John goes to the Academy Awards. So I had got bitten by the acting bug, but I was still hustling on my music because that was going so well too. So I would just keep my ear to my agent on what was coming in. And the next movie I ended up doing was Trespass with Ice-T. And, it was Bill Paxton, a couple other people in the movie that was pretty good. Yeah.
So it's incredible because I grew up with you. I grew up with NWA, and then it became Biggie and Jay, and then that whole generation. I'm an 80s and 90s kid. But when you talk to today's generation, they may have no idea that Ice Cube at one point was arguably the biggest rapper on the planet. To them, you're Friday Ice Cube, you're Big Three Ice Cube. Is it weird? Because here you are instrumental for bringing in essentially a whole age of hip hop and a whole new generation of kids and their ability to express. But then the next generation and the generation after that might know you for totally different things. Is it kind of a weird scenario that people might not recognize you for Ice Cube and NWA?
Not at all. Making it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is definitely a cherry on top when it comes to music. But what's cool is some fans discover me backwards. They see, are we there yet as a kid? As they grow up a little bit, they might see Friday. And then, by the time they see Friday and they grow up a little bit more, now music, is starting to come into their life, and they're starting to understand who's an artist and who's not. And then if they get a hold of Straight Outta Compton, they can see it full circle, and become fans in their 20s all over again, fans of my legacy. So it's been a great way to expand my fan base, to, always, have the youth understanding who I am, from the beginning. And then as they grow, they can get to the hard stuff with the music. And so it's worked out well.
Did you guys as kids, it's you, it's Dre, it's Easy, did you have any comprehension at that moment as all that success is happening? Because I'm sure you're enjoying every moment of it, but did you have any comprehension of the legacy that you were going to eventually leave in music and in culture in general?
Not in the beginning, not at all. We were just trying to find our niche, find out, our place in, first of all, West Coast LA hip hop, which was ruled by other people. It was the Uncle Jam's Army, Egyptian Lover, LA Dream Team, Ice-T. These guys were at the time bigger than the Wrecking Crew. Some of them was on the same level, but they had more breakout songs that kind of popped through in LA. So we were just trying to figure out where we fit in LA hip hop, and to come up with, just being ourselves and not trying to be Run DMC or be, any of the rappers of the day. That was our path. We found our path and we stayed on it. And we didn't know we were going to become famous with it. We thought just the opposite. The records we doing are so hard, they can't be played on the radio. How the hell are you going to get famous if you're not played on the radio? So we thought we would just have dirty records, like where they put the Richard Pryor records and Red Fox and Eddie Murphy's. You see NWA right next to Eddie Murphy's, comedy album.
I had Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank on the show this week, and he said that there's always a moment where the transition happens, where you go from this shit isn't happening to, oh my God, this shit is actually happening. What was that moment for you where you're in that process and you do realize we're not going to be the dirty album in somebody's closet now? We are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, musical acts on the planet.
It's a trip because it's when we got booked to do a show in Chicago. You know, we had done West Coast shows, West Coast tours. But when they said, yo, they want you in Chicago at the Regal Theater, Big Daddy Kane is on the bill. Few other big New York artists, Biz Markie, I believe, was on the bill. And that's when I knew, oh, like, this ain't just a West Coast thing. We're gonna be traveling with this record. So that's when I realized there's something going on here. And then the reaction we got from the crowd, you know, they just went crazy. And so, funny story, when we got to the show in Chicago, it was a blizzard. And Common, he was opening up for us. We didn't know who he was, but he knew who we were. And we forgot one of our records, you know, one of the records we needed to do in the show. And he drove us to the record store. You know, Common, you know, as a local back in Chicago, drive us to the record store. So that was, you know, that was a trip, you know. And it's a trip because he told me the story. I'm like, that was you? He said, yeah, man, drove y'all to the record store, you know. So we was just happy, man, that people knew us outside of the West Coast.
You are a lifelong Lakers fan. I'm a lifelong Lakers fan. I actually played in high school with Kobe Bryant. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I played in summer leagues with him all the time and got to know him really well. I want to ask you from one Lakers fan to the other, because I've had debates to the death with other Lakers fans. 80s Showtime versus Shaq and Kobe three-peat. Who wins in a 7-game series?
I think the 80s Showtime. It was just a rougher game, and not saying that. I mean, Shaq and Kobe played in the rough era too, but you know, not too many things can match the 80s. Now, you know, it's just hard. I think Shaq would get frustrated and definitely want to swing on Kirk Rambis, somebody. You know, I just think it was just a beat 'em up game, and I think the era that Kobe and Shaq played, it just started to clean up a little more. You know, after them brawls in the early 90s, you know, by the time they were winning championships, you know, the game, no more hand checking. The game had just changed. It was just a different thing.
I've said that exact same thing. Q, people don't realize those guys were clotheslining each other back then. You had Lane Beer literally trying to pile drive people on the court. And what Michael Jordan had to go through with the Bad Boy Pistons, those guys were murderers. They were killing each other out there. And today you can't
foul. No flake, just a regular foul. I clothesline you on the fast break. Regular foul, 2 free throws.
Yeah, now meanwhile, you accidentally brush somebody's cheek and it's a flagrant 2 and you're out of the game. It's so awful.
Yeah, so, I mean, Kobe and Shaq didn't play in the era like it is now. It was still a little bit, you know, a little bit rougher. I mean, I still think Kobe is still, you know, one of the best. When I say one of the best, like, he up there with Mike. You know, one thing about Michael Jordan, he never saw a zone defense in the pros. And, you know, Kobe's seen it all. He's seen it all.
I always
So,
say I would still take MJ as the greatest of all time. And I know you didn't even have him on your top five, which I'll save that disagreement for our next time we chat. But Kobe was the most skilled player I've ever seen. Even at 16 years old, that dude was like Jesus. The stuff he was doing already at that time, his skill level was so far and above. He was great at everything. The only guy who I think has matched him in skill level, but he's just not as athletically gifted, is Steph Curry. But Kobe could do everything great. And whatever he couldn't do great, he made himself great. And that drive was Jordan-esque. So I thought he was more skilled than MJ, and he had the drive MJ did. I just think MJ would do anything to win. I think he'd like literally murder your family if he needed to. I'm sorry for the expression, but whatever it took.
But I hear you. You know, those top five lists are always tough. You know, I'm a Laker. I got to go with the Lakers. But yeah, man. You know, amazing. I would love to see him play in Kobe's era. You know, when they both was at their prime, that would have been amazing.
I've interviewed your son many times, and one of the things that I talked to him about was the NHL. And he actually told me some great stories about how you're actually a Kings fan as well, and you were able to introduce him to hockey and the Kings. And I wanted to talk to you about that. Tell me about being a Kings fan and how you were introduced and how you became a fan.
You know, just being in Los Angeles, we used to be able to throw a rock and hit the Forum. So the Lakers and the Kings played there. You know, I'm not gonna say I'm a super fan, but you know, when the Kings are good, ain't nothing better. You know, when they had Gretzky and you know, they was just bringing excitement to the game. We would go out and watch and learn the game. You know, in the 90s. You know, when they was really flowing with it and trying to bring hockey to LA and make sure people were into it. Then going to the Staples Center and having a suite there, being able to, you know, go to a lot of hockey games and check it out and get into it, and then, you know, making a run. My son Sharif, I mean, he knows the minor league players. He got all the jerseys. I mean, he's just a crazy, crazy hockey fan. So we go to a lot of games, and especially when they're good, and you know, I got time off, we'll go check them out, and it's fun, man. It's fun to root, and it's a fun game to watch, fast. And if you haven't been to a game, you got to go because it's just fun to watch.
I always tell people basketball is my first love, but there's nothing better than hockey in real life. It is the most exciting live sport.
Too much suspense, man. It's like, damn, you know, it's just so much suspense. You're just on the pins and needles, you know, either hoping they score or hoping they don't. It's true.
I'm going to put you on the spot as a Lakers fan. What is your all-time number one favorite Lakers moment, most memorable Lakers moment for you as a fan?
I guess I would say, you know, Magic's baby hook on the Celtics, 85, I believe. It was nothing sweeter than beating them. And so I just remember the feeling I got, the rush. The second, I mean, I got to put, you know, 3 on it. You know, another rush that was incredible was the live from Kobe to Shaq in the Western Conference Finals against Portland. And then the other one was, damn, I got 2 more. Point four.
Horry's got to be one.
Horry. Point 4 and Horry. You know, Derek Fisher hitting that .4 shot and Robert Horry hitting that shot. It was just so electric. You know, you don't feel that kind of electricity going through your body every day.
Now that you're on the executive level of basketball, Does your perspective of what it means to run a team or run a league when you look at the NBA change because you get to experience it with the big three?
Yeah, you know, you respect what the founders of those leagues uh, persevered through. You respect those leagues for being able to maintain their fan base year after year, figure that out, and create new fans because you have to, you know, reach to younger generation to get them to become fans of what you're doing. So it's just, you know, gained a lot of respect for all the major leagues that has, you know, made it. But we're the first league since UFC to get to our fourth season. So we're, you know, proud and excited, and I'm happy about what we're doing. And, you know, hopefully we can, you know, be thought of as one of the, you know, major sports in America.
So one of the main reasons I started the show, Cube, was I wanted to talk to successful people in all genres about the principles and mentality that it took in order to be successful. My question to you is, how do you continue to elevate in your life, continue to raise the standards and create excellence?
I think it's, you know, first, you know, dream big, and recognize your network of opportunities around you to get your dreams done and completed. I believe you should, you know, write the pros and the cons of your dream. You know, and be honest. You know, why should I do this? Why shouldn't I do this? And you'll learn a lot about what you're doing and if it's the right thing from that, if you're honest with the reasons why you shouldn't do it. And so, and work hard every day. You know, there's always, you know, a place where you do get over the hump. And so you just want to make sure that you always pushing to get there. And, you know, be willing to do whatever it takes legally, do whatever it takes to get the job done. And don't beat yourself up if you fail. You know, don't beat yourself up if you can't get it done. You know, it's trying is the most important part, really.
If there was one piece of advice that today's mogul Ice Cube could go back in time, teleport back, and tell young Ice Cube starting out in NWA and say, here's the one thing you got to know 30 years, 40 years down the line, what's that one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. We all have, you know, doubt. And, you know, I just heard this recently and I agree with it. You know, the past is depression. The future is anxiety. So just try to make sure that you're not doubting yourself. You're not, you know, over second guessing yourself. That don't mean you don't think it out or, you know, marinate and digest things. You know, you don't want to be, you know, have an idea every day and never complete one. But you want to believe in yourself. And I think that's the most important thing because there's so many things that can knock you off your path or make you doubt. And you don't want to be like that. You want to go for it. And if you miss, so what? Go again tomorrow.
My final question. You've done so many things. You've had a life that 10 people, if you combine them, probably couldn't equate to. What is the one thing you're most proud of in your life?
My family. Because at the end of the day, That's all you really got, is the people around you that love you for you. And that's really the most important, and my best accomplishment. And there's nothing I could ever do to beat it.
So the one thing I want to say before I let you go, I've interviewed O'Shea a bunch of times. He's the nicest dude, man. Raised really well, pure class, funny, super charming. So you guys did a really great job with him. I'm a 43-year-old man, so I can assess that. A great kid, man.
Thank you, man. My wife, I got to give her most of the credit because she was there most of the time.
Dude, this was awesome. You're welcome back anytime. Thanks for making this happen, brother. Congratulations, Big 3, Season 4. I'm a huge fan. I love everything you're doing with it. As a kid who played high school and college ball, I love seeing these guys get out there and just pounding away. It's awesome, man.
Thank you, man. Check us out every weekend. Saturdays on CBS, Triller, or Fight TV, man. Check us out.
Thanks, Cube. It's been a pleasure, man. Thanks for jumping on.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Thanks, man. Talk later.